I use quite a few of these narrated PowerPoints, so generally there'll be about one per week that'll be related to the reading, um, and sometimes there will be more than one per week, which is they vary in terms of length. I promise you that no single narrated PowerPoint will be longer than an hour. My tendency more recently is to do more shorter ones rather than one longer one. So we'll see how that works out this semester. I've taught this course before with one of the books, and actually I've taught the course a number of times, but I've taught it once with the main text we'll look at in just a minute. And but this is my first time teaching it entirely online with this particular text. So, but I'm looking forward to it. Here you can see my contact information. I did give you my cell phone number and of course my email address. I prefer that you use Folio email to get in touch with me, but you can also use my teachiles at georgiasouthern.edu address, and I do tend to check that one a little bit more than the Folio one, but I am in Folio every day for quite a bit of time because I have this class that I'm teaching entirely online, and I have two other classes that I use Folio extensively in those as well, especially with what we're experiencing right now with the pandemic. So, and those are my office hours. I'm not going to be physically on campus because I have an issue with my wife is because of her age and disability. I don't want to be on campus any more than I absolutely have to. I am coming in for two face-to-face classes, but then I'm leaving and having my office hours at home. So the problem with my office is I don't think it's big enough for social distancing. I haven't actually measured it, but I really don't think it is. So it's pretty small. But those are the times when I will be available answering emails. You can call me on the phone if you like. We can do a Zoom conversation if you like. I'd like to schedule conferences and all that sort of thing with you during the semester to talk about your final project. And other information here, last day to drop, and then there's the course description. So this is the title of the course is Research Methods for Writers, and we kind of writers have to do research, and a lot of times they have to do research beyond that in the library where they're trying to get information from people. And technical communicators, which is the part of the audience that I imagined for this course, often have to learn about who is making use of their materials in order to make decisions about designing documents. Is a traditional written document going to be more effective, or would a video be better? And if it's a video, is it going to be kind of a how-to, or is it going to be informational? There's lots of different decisions that have to be made, and they have to be made upon good, solid research. So that's a lot of what we're thinking about here. So those are the texts. Your main text we're going to use for about the first half of the semester. And the second author there, George Hayhoe, for a number of years he was the editor of the journal Technical Communication, which is the house organ for the Society for Technical Communication. Now, the Society for Technical Communication is a group of professional technical communicators, what we used to call technical writers, except these people we call technical writers now do a lot more than just write. They often design visual documents that make a great deal of use. It could be a video or it could be an infograph. And even if it is a traditional print document, technical communicators are now more involved in designing documents, how text is going to appear on the page, and with securing images and things like that. So, and then Michael Hughes also has had experience with working as a technical communicator, but he's also in academics now. So, this is a good book. It covers quantitative and qualitative research and also mixed methods. And each chapter afterwards, actually in the second part of the book, there's an article or a study of the sort that's discussed um, in that research methodology. So we'll be able to look at each of those. And then the second book, Dorothy Windsor's Writing Like an Engineer, we'll be looking at or reading towards the end of the semester, about the last month or so uh, of classes. And this is a longitudinal study. She looked at students who were engineering students at a specialized institution for automotive engineers, and she followed them as undergraduates and then into the workplace and studied the type of technical communication they engaged in and how it changed as they moved from being students to being practicing engineers. So, okay, the other thing that's important on the slide, attendance verification. On the first day of classes, you'll want to go in on Folio and follow those instructions. You go in under quizzes and you look for, it'll be clear which one it is. You look for the attendance verification quiz, and that's how you go about verifying your attendance. It's a good thing to get done on the first day that they set aside the first week of classes for attendance verification, but you want to go ahead and get yours done so that you keep your place in class. That still is in effect. Following here, we have pandemic policies. These don't pertain to us as much as they do to face-to-face classes. So certainly if you get sick and you can't do work, because you're too ill, you need to let me know. And there's different people on classes that you need to be sure to get in touch with. And here's, the care center that they set up. And of course, face coverings doesn't really pertain to us, but it does pertain to your life as a student if you're on campus. So, and you probably are seeing this on other syllabi that you may have this semester. You might note that anyone who refuses to use a face covering can be disciplined through the Student Code of Conduct. So reasonable accommodations can be made for people who have health reasons for not being able to use one. Okay, so here's our learning objectives with their outcomes. And so these are things that you can expect to be learning about. And here are your assignments. You'll have some type of a research project, and I'm open to, it could be a traditional research paper, or you could do a study of some sort. If what I'll be doing for the class is getting IRB approval, and this will allow you to to interact with human subjects, so long as I'm aware of what you're doing. I'm supposed to supervise that, and so as long as you, like if you're going to stand up at the student union and do a survey, that's okay as long as I'm aware of what you're doing. We've talked about what's acceptable behavior and what isn't. So actually that's going to be difficult this semester, but there's other ways of circulating surveys. Okay, so you'll have your research project, and based upon that will be your narrated PowerPoint reporting your research. And that you'll be doing that during exam week. And then you'll have three tests. The first one will be on the Hughes and Hayo text. It'll be multiple choice and essay. The essay will account for 60% of the grade, and the uh, multiple choice will count for 40%. And you will have the opportunity to revise your essay on that first one on October. It'll be due on October 2nd. And then the one at the end of the month October 30th will be on rhetorical analysis, and that'll be an essay test more than likely. And then at the end of the semester, you'll have one that'll be due by the 4th of December. That'll be on the writing like an engineer, and it'll be multiple choice and essay. And of course, you don't have literal attendance with a course like this one, but you will be using the discussion board, and you need to complete your discussions during the time allotted for it on a weekly basis. And you need to make sure you get your work done on time, because that's how you attend a course that's taught entirely online. But they are due during the assigned module. And so what you're doing is accumulating points, and the maximum number is 1,000, and then your grade is drawn from that. You notice here with the standards for grade levels, look at the standards for a C. It says represents achievement that meets the course requirement in every aspect. Okay, A's and B's are better than that, but a C is still going to, it's not some type of failing grade. You still need to have addressed the assignment in every way. And then D's and F's fall short of that in some sense. With due dates, I expect everything to be turned in by 11:59 p.m. and that way we don't get confused about which 12 o'clock. And you will be uploading papers to Folio as an attachment. Talk more about that in a minute. So under course policies, have academic dishonesty. Of course, the second one is what you think of when you think of people being academically dishonest in a writing course, copying and pasting from the internet. And this does happen sometimes in upper level writing and linguistics courses, not as often as it would, say, in a first year composition class or something like that. But what writing and linguistics students sometimes run into is problems with the first bullet point, failure to document sources, or misuse of standard documentation, the next to the last one there. So it is important to document your sources, and even if you're doing some type of empirical study, then you would still you would have to contextualize it within the literature that you're working in or the area of study that you're working in, and so you would still need to document how it fits in there with other work that's been similar type of work that's been done. With the third one, submitting an essay handed in for credit for another course, this is also called self-plagiarism. It's one thing to do more research on a topic that you're interested in, but you don't turn in the same paper for credit in two different courses. That's a form of plagiarism. If you have any doubt about that, we can certainly discuss it over a Zoom conference. So, accommodations, I'll be happy to accommodate you in any way that you need accommodations. You do need to be registered with the Student Accessibility Resource Center. And then, of course, if it has to do with COVID-19, then you need to also, if it's just limited to COVID-19. then that also needs to be submitted to the SARC office. The thing to keep in mind in terms of attendance, as I was saying, the way that you attend an online course is by doing your work, especially on the discussion board, on time. The discussion board does lock at the end of each module, and after it's locked, it can't be unlocked just for one student. And so if somebody has missed a lot of work and they have a reason, it can be documented that they were ill or what have you, um, then you would have to, more than likely, that student would have to take an incomplete and then go back and do the discussion board work after the semester is over. Because again, I can't unlock it for just one person. It's just not how it works. Tests are different. If someone missed a test, I can go back and unlock that for just one person to take it later. Okay, all of your papers and so forth, essays, need to be uploaded as Microsoft Word and uploaded as an attachment, not copied and pasted into Folio. And then I grade it electronically. I use the comments feature, so when you get a paper back from me, there'll be a lot of balloons out in the right hand margin and a comment written at the end of the paper that'll have to do with my final evaluation of it and your grade and all that sort of thing. If anybody is colorblind, you have trouble reading what's in the balloons in the right hand margin, there's an explanation of how to do that. If you can't figure out how to do that, let me know, because I have some other, I have a PDF on it that has screenshots. The Writing Center is going to continue to function this semester, and they will work with people face to face, but they're encouraging people to do it, over the internet, using whatever, Zoom or whatever, to have the appointment. You can also still upload your paper to the Writing Center, so the tutor can sit there and read a copy while you're looking at your own copy. But they'll also talk to people face to face, but it has to be social distancing and probably a barrier between the tutor and the student who needs help, and all that sort of thing. So it's still available, and I recommend that you take advantage of it. Okay, so with the discussion board, you do need to complete the discussion board assignments as they are due. You can't go back and do a bunch of discussion board responses to make up for ones that may have been missed. They all have to be addressed. Your initial response needs to be 200 words. If it isn't, you'll get a folio email from me telling you that you need to go back and add to it to get credit. Now, if you wait till the last minute, then you may not have time to go back and do it. But if you get your work in early enough, and there's still some time left for the module, then you can go back in and add to it to get credit, so long as you do it before the deadline. Now, in terms of class responses to your classmates' work, you have to say something of substance, and there's a number of different ways you can do that. You can ask a question, you can disagree, or you can add another example to support what your classmate has written. But you can't just say, yes, I agree with what you said, or even elaborate on that with, oh, I really enjoyed what you wrote. It was really great. It really helped me to understand material better. Thank you so much. It's just what you need to do is you need to add to the conversation. not simply compliment the writer of the original post. So, as it says, the intent is to have asynchronous discussions. Asynchronous means it's not governed by time. That is, you can post something one day and somebody else can post something, a response, the next day or a few days later. So, if you do all of your discussion board posts and you get the full 300 points, if you do half of them, you get 150 points. And so that would knock your final grade down by a letter grade and a half. So you don't want that to happen. So it's good. It's a good way to get full 300 or 300 points if you do all your discussion board posts. And it can help to pull up your grade for, maybe a poor or weak grade on a test or your final paper or something. And tests we've talked about. The essay, 500 words is fine. I'm not trying to turn it into another research paper or anything. And as I said, you will have the opportunity to revise your the essay portion of the test. And so we'll be talking about your final report, and it could be an actual study, or it could be that you're writing a research paper about research methods. Maybe you want to learn more about how to do a good interview, or maybe the idea of shadowing, following somebody around is something that interests you, um, like on the job or something. So. And of course, you want to be certain to use MLA, APA, or the Chicago Manual of Style. Documentation needs to be correct. And you want to use quality sources. Questions? I'll see you online.